What's up, everybody, and welcome back to our faction ranking videos. Today, we've got some Tyranids. Before we get into it, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Hit the bell to turn notifications on. Everybody wants to keep getting notified when our videos come out. And if you don't like this type of content, don't worry. We've got battle reports and a bunch of other content. So let's get into it. And if it's your first time joining us in one of these, I highly recommend going at least watching the Space Marine one before you watch this one, because we're using the Space Marines as kind of our root. It is our
baseline.
Our baseline.
Kind of
our baseline.
About 40K is Space Marines, and how these different factions compare. But so we did an original tier list. It's kind of based off our gut feel. We got a lot of comments and feedback. We'll love to hear what you guys have to say. So if you have your own tier list you want to share with us, put them in the comments. But kind of our gut check, what we want to do now. We want to do a little bit more numerical kind of analytical analysis based on some different categories, and then give them a raw ranking score and see how that lines up with what we originally kind of postulated.
Yeah, and so as we go through these, you guys will kind of learn what we're rating them on, so we don't have to go through it at the start of every video. So we've got everything starting off at 10 points here. The max you can get is 60 points total. So let's just go right into it with Tyranids. So defensibility, so this is their durability, their survivability. Do they have any defensive mobility that helps them? Anything like that makes them stay alive and not just die and go splat?
Not really.
So
other than leadership, like leadership's good for them because of synapses. But
yes, it's synapses. So you got a lot of fearless guys. You can definitely play the horde game, and their movement is crazy. So that's one of the biggest things. Like I always kind of get bonus points to units that can advance in charge. So if you take Kraken, they can advance in charge. They can leave combat in charge. So getting across the board, wrapping and trapping units, which is a little bit different in 9th edition than it used to be in 8th. It doesn't just automatically lock units down. But throwing an OBSEC unit up into an objective and surrounding it and just being fearless, and if you don't get the guy all the way to the last guy, potentially that could cost you a primary.
I mean, even if you had like a bunch of Carnifexes, like the aren't Kraken Carnifexes or something like -1 to hit, and then you pair that with a forest, that's super hard for a lot of shooting armies to come back from a native -1 to hit all the time. Like I see how that affects me with my Harlequins and stuff like that when people are shooting at me. So don't they have abilities like that make them a little bit more durable by having built-in
they have aura bugs that just hand out -1s. You can upgrade individual Carnifexes with a -1 to hit.
And I will say this for defense too is the spores. Those can be that's annoying if they do a spore thing.
Yeah.
So is that more defense or is that offense? Right? Like, because it's like they can control the board, and so that kind of
it's a little bit of both.
Kind of
I
both.
mean, you're putting a screen out there. You're putting a defensive screen out there that slows your opponent down, because that screen is not an offensive screen for you to attack. It's more to deter your opponent, right? So I would say that's probably a defensive thing.
Well, I think it's both though, because from Bird's point of view on that, like I could see where you screen off something and hold it where you want it, so then you can step your big guns and like hammer it there, right? Like stuff like that. So
so from a defensive perspective, I think the individual stuff is fairly easy to kill. The big bugs, outside of like some really kind of spending a lot of effort, they don't have invulnerable saves. You got a couple characters that do, but they gotta hide, and they gotta use their mobility or their screening to kind of keep them alive. So that's tricky. But there's a lot of like builds in the Tyranid list. We'll kind of get through that when we start talking about the list flex that can take advantage of that.
So are they higher than a 5
on defense? I think I would probably give them a 6 just because of the mass bodies. That's just one build. You can certainly go a different way, but I think you could just be like spamming the board with guys and with the terrain, right? We're always talking about terrain in 9th and how that's changed. It makes it much more difficult to just casually pick up 30 Gaunts. Like it used to be nothing to just shoot 30 Gaunts up the board. Now it's like that's a little bit more of a tricky thing.
And they can come back. They can come back as well.
Yeah.
So offense, how's their shooting, close combat, everything like that?
I think their offense is really where they struggle. Like,
the only thing that comes to my mind is Tyranid Warriors, or Hive Guard, right? Like that's.
And Hive Guard are kind of so swingy. So like, if you can keep them alive in the back and just hammer all game, and you don't have a ton of minuses kind of in between you, if there's no forest or other things, like they can get some work done, right? But it's far and few that they could just keep doing that.
Gene stealers, though, I mean, those will cut you up. They will cut you up.
Yeah, but they're pretty expensive, right? So I mean, absolutely, you can use a swarm lord and send them across again that whole advance and charge, really high mobility and attack.
But that's an expensive unit that you're throwing away because they're going to die the next turn.
Yeah, I think Tyranids win not by killing you, but by using board control and movement to kind of get the game done. Like they score primaries by positioning, by blocking, by using their tools to get in your face early, force you to shoot at stupid stuff like spore bombs. You don't want to see pain until you see 9 battle boards just dropping spore bombs all over the place.
So
now you can't move.
Are they higher or lower than a 4 on offense?
Well, let's also take into consideration old One Eye. So probably a 5.
Because of a single model?
He gets
I'm just teasing that.
It's like a truck. He is good.
He's gnarly.
But it seems like it's few in between. Like they have smaller amounts that are going to hit hard. And if you're building your list around those, the ones that are hitting hard tend to be expensive. So now you can't throw them away like you want to do with Tyranids.
I mean, Exocrines are nasty.
I think they have some killer units, but like as a whole, like they're not winning by like blowing their opponents off the table.
I just wish Lictors were better.
But Lictors are fantastic, right? Because they're a single model infantry unit that can jump and hide behind something so easily and still do deploy scramblers because they're not a character.
All right, that's not offense. Offense. Focus.
So I don't think offense is where you go, right? So I think a 4 is a good number for me. Unfortunately, they can do work again, but that's not their strongest suit.
So then you're saying their primary, they are good at it. So if I stick them at an 8 on a primary, are they above or below that as far as board control?
I think 8's fair.
Yeah, I think 8's good. They can really spread out and grab the points. Now the question is, can they hold them, right? And that's why they're not getting like a full 10.
Yeah, exactly.
And denying them, like it's the same thing. Like they can deny because they can jump on them, but then they might not hold them the next time. So then their secondaries, where are they struggling or shining in the secondary department? Where are they
pretty strong, I think, overall.
I think they're fantastic in the secondaries. They can get them casually, right? Like I need to get Linebreaker this turn, or I need to get engage in all fronts.
Easy.
They go wherever they want, right? Like you can't stop, a unit of 10 guns running across the board.
And do they give up secondaries easy?
So they don't usually run a ton of characters, like so you're not going to get maxed there. You can build builds that don't have tons of monsters, so you're not going to get there. You can thin the line if they have lots of guys.
Yeah,
they either have lots of guys or they have big bugs, right?
But I've seen mixes of big bugs and a medium amount of guys, and it's like you're kind of like, well, it's not great. You're not going to get like 8 or 9 points if you kill everything, and like that's not enough,
Yeah.
So they can deny you by being in the way of stuff.
Yeah, so. And they can spread out board block you from deep striking in
I think you can leave them
engage
at 10.
or in their things.
Okay. I legitimately do.
I think they're great at secondaries. I think that's one of their strongest suits.
Cool. And then CP farm.
So
I don't know. I don't know enough about them to comment on this.
Let me pull this up here. They got some interesting. They have some cool stratagems.
I think they have a lot of stratagems. I think they want to spend. They're not just sitting back on CP. They're spending them.
Overrun is such a good stratagem. It's so stinking good.
Yeah, you got the high guard shooting twice or whatever. If you're playing that, I don't know if it's a Maleceptor or whatever, the malfunction bug. He's kind of terrible, but he can like buff up units nearby. -1 strength on any guns.
So they've got good stratagems.
Yeah.
Metabolic overdrive.
Are they dependent on stratagems?
I think to a certain extent that's what makes their army really work well. So I think yes.
Are they spending stratagems or CP pre-game to buff up certain things?
They do, don't they, Bird? Don't they have to spend quite a bit though?
They can't spend because they're going to buy some adaptive physiologies, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So they can buff up.
So they're going to spend. They're a little reliant on stuff.
Yeah, so I wouldn't give them a high ranking. I would probably give them a.
Do they regen at all?
No.
No,
Okay.
not to my. I don't
So
think so
the highest they can possibly be is like a 6. Then there's too many negatives against them.
I think it's a 5 or a 6 for me. I wouldn't rate them very high on that.
I'm gonna go with a 5.
All right.
List flexibility. They got tons of units, man. They just got tons of things.
Yeah, you're talking about Pyrivores being good again. You're like, when's the last time you ever heard Pyrivores being good? And of course, we talked about Pyrivores being fantastic. What a pain! I hate Pyrivores with a passion. Hive Guard kind of swingy. You know, some games you're like, those guys are the worst nightmares I've ever seen. Sometimes they can't kill a Marine to save their life.
They got Ripper Swarms, which are annoying to hold objectives. You know, like
yeah,
in their
they've got tons of They've got tons of flying monster things. They've got tons of infantry, horde, big monsters.
Fantastic for some of those secondaries, like deploy scramblers with lictors. Like, get out of here.
So however the meta goes, they have enough stuff for a full 10 to be adjusting to that. Not saying that you're going to be able to beat and win games, right? That's not what this is. It's list flexibility to keep up with the game changing.
That's right.
Yeah, which I think they can do.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not forget about Harpies either. Harpies are pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the list flex is really high in these guys. Again, the movement, board control, that goes a lot of way in 9th. You don't have to kill anything. You can win big time.
So I hope we see a resurgence of Hive Tyrants. I love those.
That puts us 43.
Okay.
Which I think makes sense after
we might have slightly overestimated.
Well, that's how we're doing this, because this is probably going to get us a pretty accurate reading on stuff. So that's going to
go watch that video where the Tyranid just pins me in the corner with some Pyrivores, and you know why I rated them so high. Tyranids.
So they fall in the B tier. That does it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun things. Obviously, turn on the notifications. Go back and watch the Space Marine one so you can kind of see the baseline, and stay tuned for more factions.